Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. I'm Nicola Barreto. Let's take a look at the headlines. Government says Colony Orange community participants will be engaged in the rebuilding of the city and environs. Moves to minimize environmental damage are afoot as the existing policy governing the sale of state-owned lands are amended. And anticipation continues to build as advances toward Trinidad and Tobago having the first airport city in the Caribbean presses on. Thank you for joining us. Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Senator the Honourable Ganga Singh, says the Housing Development Corporation intends to continue employing the men and women of East Port of Spain who participated in the Colony Orange program of 2011 to assist in the rebuilding of the city.
Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, Senator the Honourable Ganga Singh, promises the communities which participated in the Colony Orange program will not be forgotten. He makes this pledge while answering questions in Tuesday's Senate sitting. The Colony Orange program provided employment and development opportunities for residents in HDC communities in Port of Spain West, East and Central, in Mova, Maloney, Couva and San Fernando. The residents were encouraged to assist in the maintenance and upkeep of buildings and properties in a meaningful and practical way. Minister Singh says the program fits in nicely with the HDC's long-term strategy of rebuilding East Port of Spain.
It is expected that the CMO participants, having gained practical work experience coupled with training, will find meaningful work in this period of activity. The HDC firmly believes that the cadre of skilled graduates of the Colony Orange participants are the future artisans, administrators, architects of this massive East Port of Spain project. The CMO programs were replete with ambitious men and women who would have had the opportunity to start off as a laborer or lower level categorization of skill, and it was envisioned that having undergone training in the CMO program, they would now be co-opted to any national training agency or institution and eventually receive accreditation.
The minister believes the Colony Orange participants will have the greatest impact on the rebuilding of Port of Spain and expresses no doubt that their job skills will be utilized.
As the HDC continues to focus and work aggressively on infrastructure refurbishment and the maintenance of its estate at first world best-in-class status, this will invariably necessitate the contribution of capable and experienced individuals and contractors from within these communities to partner with the HDC in the execution of these works, which will see residents from within these communities predominantly recruited.
Minister Singh says there is already evidence that the participants are reaping the benefits of partaking in the program.
Over 1,300 HDC residents in Harp, St. Joseph Road, Chafford Courts, Canada, Plaisance, Lavantil Paradise Heights, Mova, Dorata Street, John Beverly Hills, Mango Rose, Hawaii Lands Belmont, Methuen Street, Woodbrook, Maloney, Monrepo, Pleasantville, Embarcadere, St. Paul Street, Basilor Court, Lisa's Gardens, and Oropoon were recruited in 2013-2014 to execute these refurbishment works.
Gregory McBurney, News 4.
In other news, the United Nations led observations all across the world on July 11th, dubbed World Population Day. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon declared the theme for this year's observations as investing in the youth, promoting a positive environment for their access to sexual and reproductive health services, and the facilitation of their leadership and participation. Activities centered around this theme were undertaken in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, as indeed they were in countries around the world.
Based in the UN's Port of Spain office, Aurora Noguera Ramkisoon is Assistant Representative for the UNFPA in the Caribbean sub-region. She spoke with News 4 about some of the areas in which the global body is working with governments and civil society groups in the region to tackle the issues under this general theme.
There's a United Nations Development Assistance Framework that governs the way we work in the countries. So we first conduct what is called, say, a needs assessment. We have the Common Country Assessment, which looks at some of the development priorities for the country, where problems lie. And given our individual mandates, such as UNFPA, which focuses on sexual and reproductive health and population dynamics, we would see where we best fit in meeting the needs of the country. And then we would partner with organizations that have a similar mandate who are doing work in those areas. So in certain situations, you may find that a civil society partner, including the university, may be better placed to conduct the research. Or you may find a community-based organization such as the St. James Youth Club. They have a captioned audience and they may be able to deliver a project more effectively than someone else. So then we would look to partner with those organizations that are strategically placed to try and fill the gaps and fill the needs of the country.
In Trinidad and Tobago, the UN officials said there were gaps in such areas as the maternity care and services for women in rural communities, which needed to be addressed.
What we're seeing is that certain rural women, they may not have all the information they need to ensure that they are attending their antenatal visits on time. Because of their distance, maybe because of a lack of information, they may be going to their visits later than they should be. And in those instances, they're higher risk of issues of maternal issues when you go late, especially if you have what they call non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, hypertension. Those can actually lead to birth defects. So the importance of going early when you're pregnant, we need to get that message out, particularly to women in rural areas who may not have access to information, say, that urban women may have, whether it's on the TV. Even though we're making a lot of progress with our cell phones, with electricity, there's still some gaps, and we want to make sure that no one is left out.
Further to this, she pointed to an issue of particular concern among young people in the Sangre Grande district, where data suggests what looks like a correlation involving high than average unemployment, lower educational achievement, and greater involvement in sexual activity. The UN has pledged its support to increasing the data available, which will inform many decisions that would affect the population, as well as steps are being taken to increase its partner agencies. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
News 4 continues right after the break. Stay with us.
Join us for Mandela Day, a day of programming in honor of Nelson Mandela, this Friday, the 18th of July, on TV4, Our TV.
Thank you for staying with us. The infrastructure and real estate surrounding the Piarco International Airport will be enhanced as there are major developmental plans for the area, with plans of a multi-million-dollar aeropark. The Piarco Aeropark will add to the international feel that both travelers and locals can look forward to.
The Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago is aggressively pursuing the development of the Piarco Aeropark. On June 31st, the Aeropark was officially launched and promised to introduce new services and amenities to the average traveler arriving to and departing this country. The Airports Authority hosted members of the media as they toured the lands allocated for the major developmental project.
This is an important development in the life of the Airports Authority. It's a part of us diversifying what we're doing, ensuring that our revenue base is in fact a good one, ensuring that the non-aeronautical revenue aspect of our business is developed. And as a result, what we have done is that we have looked at what has been happening and benchmarked what has been happening in other areas, in other airports internationally. And the airport city concept was one which we felt would work at Piarco, given the extent of land space that we have at Piarco. So we have done extensive work over a number of years, coming out of a strategic land use plan that was developed and approved by the government of Trinidad and Tobago. And we believe that this area, the area that was shown to the media today, has the potential for significant economic development, which will be to the benefit of not only the Airports Authority, but to Trinidad and Tobago as a whole and the region.
He said it would directly impact on the lives of the average citizen, as within the various zones of the park, there would be developments which would cater specifically to the average person. These developments include shopping malls, an office complex, a park development area, and a transport zone where gas stations and other amenities can be accessed.
This is history in that this is the first aerotropolis or airport city in the Caribbean. So, it's really an excellent time to be with the Airports Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. An airport city, that's a concept of developing an urban area around an airport, and this is going to really assist the authority in terms of commercializing its assets, and this will also assist in the economic development of Trinidad and Tobago.
The Aeropark is expected to attract business and developmental opportunities with private companies and individuals, as the project is heavily investment dependent.
The cost we talk about here is the initial development or sunk cost, which is in the region of some $90 million. But in terms of the development of the area, we envisage a participation with private sector investment in terms of developing the area. What we have is an area which is available for land space, for leasing, for developers, entrepreneurs to develop the area. So it's going to be a partnership. So it's difficult to talk about the initial cost with respect to that work, but I could tell you about the investment or the sunk cost, which is about 90 million TT.
The Piarco Aeropark will build on the already established international appeal that the Piarco International Airport presents to travelers. Nikolai Edwards, News 4.
The government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is committed to stimulating and supporting the forest industrial sector. As such, a review of the existing policy governing the sale of state-owned teak and pine was done. And according to the Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, the Honorable Ganga Singh, this new method will minimize environmental damage.
The Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources has introduced a new system for allocate to sawmill operators plantation timber of teak and pine on an annual basis. This system has been introduced to sawmill operators by the Forestry Division. At the first ever lottery draw for teak and pine held at the Carney Visitor Center, Minister of the Environment and Water Resources, the Honorable Ganga Singh, explained that this new lottery system was chosen to minimize harm to the environment. At the draw, the state-owned units were given to 69 operators to provide the local furniture industry with lumber. Speaking with News 4, the operators related that they were pleased with the new system.
Just a slight change with the lottery system is that everyone got a part of teak and pine. Who required teak got teak, who required pine got pine. It was more fairly allocated.
The process today is what we asked for, so we get it. And so far, I see the fair process, and everybody get a fair chance at it. And person who never used to get teak and pine, now it's available to them.
Well, I think it was a very fair and transparent process, and there were a lot of complaints about inefficiency in the previous system, and that the minister and his staff went all the way out with the Forestry Division to correct certain imbalances that sawmillers were complaining about. And I think with this new policy that has been implemented, we're going to see a little more straightforwardness with the distribution of the teak and pine.
I think it was about the best that we had with the transparency, with the lottery system and Ernst & Young, and we as sawmillers are satisfied. We are satisfied today.
In the meantime, while delivering the feature address earlier, Minister of the Environment and Water Resources Ganga Singh emphasized government's thrust in ensuring a fair and transparent system of allocating its resources.
This morning's lottery for the distribution of state-owned teak and pine culminates a great deal of effort to bring a measure of equity and fairness to a previously antiquated system which was in need of reform. The People's Partnership Government is continuing to focus on ensuring the sustainable management of the environment, as articulated in the People's Partnership Manifesto, which states that this government will strengthen and promote efforts in nature conservation, in particular, the conservation of the country's biodiversity regimes.
The recipients of the units will sign the related document at a ceremony at San Fernando Hill this Thursday. Minister Singh says there are several clauses the sawmill operators need to adhere to ensure that the wildlife population does not suffer.
Forests are part of great significance, both ecologically and economically. Forests provide a suitable habitat for animals and birds, protect soil from erosion, and also provide a number of major and minor products which serve many purposes. In addition to this, forests also are a source of great wealth. Out of a total forest cover, approximately 70% are of economic importance.
The teak and pine units allocated to operators came from areas such as Mon Diablo, Erin, and Cats Hill. The lottery by the Ministry of the Environment and Water Resources was overseen by auditing firm Ernst & Young. Felicia Wilson-Mon, News 4.
When we come back, some water polo for you. Stay with us.
The decisions you make today influence your future. You determine where you want to be. Make the right choice. Stop. Stay calm. Start thinking. A message from the Ministry of National Security's Citizen Security Program.
The Trinidad and Tobago water polo men's team put themselves in position to capture 5th place in the Junior Pan American Water Polo Championships following a hard-fought win over Puerto Rico on Monday in Huntington Beach, California, USA. Wayne Cunningham has the details.
Trinidad and Tobago and Mexico faced off late on Tuesday to determine who would take 5th place in the Pan American Junior Water Polo Championship. The locals earned the right after battling throughout their game with Puerto Rico and taking a 9-8 victory. Jonathan Gillette led Trinidad and Tobago's offense with 5 goals for the win, while Ray Castillo scored 4 goals for Puerto Rico. Sebastian Van Rieken made 8 saves for TNT, while Jorge Torres also made 8 saves for the opposing team. Puerto Rico's Ray Castillo and Fernandez Zayas scored the first 2 goals of the game to put their team ahead. Jonathan Gillette answered for Trinidad and Tobago in the last 5 seconds to make the score 2-1 Puerto Rico after 1 quarter. Both Puerto Rico and Trinidad and Tobago capitalized on either 6x5 advantages or 5-meter penalty shots in the second quarter. Abiel Quinones started off the scoring in the second quarter with a goal on his 6x5 advantage, followed by Castillo converting on a 5-meter penalty, pulling Puerto Rico ahead 4-1. Gillette then scored 2 goals, both in man-up situations, to bring Trinidad and Tobago within 1 goal, with a score of 4-3 Puerto Rico going into the half. In the third quarter, Trinidad and Tobago's Lon Daniel scored on a 6x5 advantage to knot up the game at 4. Kyron Emmanuel then scored to gain a lead of 5-4 for TNT, but Castillo capitalized on another 5-meter penalty shot to tie up the scores at 5 at the end of the quarter. Trinidad and Tobago then outscored their opponents 4-3 in the final quarter to advance to the 5th place playoff with the Mexicans. The Alan Tuafu squad will have to step up its game versus the North Americans to capture 5th spot, having lost to them earlier in the tournament. Wayne Cunningham, News 4 Sports.
Thank you very much, Wayne. Coming out of sport now, Land and Marine Resources Minister, the Honorable Jairam Singh Mangal, visited several constituencies over the weekend in an effort to continue to distribute certificates of comfort and agricultural leases.
The Commissioner of State Lands has been given extended powers to change the use of lands given to persons for agriculture use. Minister of Land and Marine Resources, Jaram Simangal, in his most recent distribution of leases in the Karani Central District, announced plans to increase the leases for lands from 5 years to 30. He took the opportunity to explain how these changes will affect farmers looking to cultivate long-term crops.
How it works is that the farmer will apply to the commissioner for a certificate of compliance with his program of development. And that will take place compulsory every 5 years for the next 30 years. So I've moved the lease from a 5-year lease to a 30-year lease. But I've also made it in such a way that the farmer have to apply to the commissioner. So there must be an interaction with the commissioner's office. We have also beefed up on the amount of staff that we have in the commissioner's office. And we are also expanding the entire network of the commissioner office so we can have enough staff to deal with all of these renewal when come this application in 5 years' time.
He encouraged the farmers to cultivate fruit trees as a way of eradicating certain bugs and pests that seem to be prevalent due to the dominance of other crops.
So I've asked the commissioner to put in all these that I want 10% of the land to be fruit trees. That doesn't mean to say you're going to take the middle of the land and plant a tree, you know. But you can plant the fruit trees right around the land in most of the areas, and also have enough trees that we have proper fruits as well, because we are lacking in many instances. Some of the young children don't even know it's a fat pop. You see? You show them a mango, everybody feel like a Julie mango. But you show them a Sacha mango and they say looking nice and yellow. Yes, nice big color, but they don't even know what kind of mango it is. Plant a few pomerac where the manicuaning could come back and thing, and you know, Mr. Ragu might invite me, I don't know. But plant some fruits that can attract birds and attract the wildlife as well, and it can also provide some shade.
The minister also urged them to utilize the land to its fullest potential in the nearest time, as there was a need to reduce the food importation bill.
Our first step here today, we are distributing to you the letters of offer. The legal department in the ministry will take over from there. These fellows of them, when they distribute this thing today, you wouldn't see them after that because their work done. We have a fully equipped legal team in the ministry with about 10 lawyers now, and they will be interacting with you, and they will call you to actually start to sign up your agreements so that you will have the 30-year lease in your hand. And the Ministry of Food Production will take over after that. So everything I have a stage, you know. The Ministry of Food Production will take over after that to make sure that your program of development is adhered to. But when it come back to the 5th year, the Commissioner of Land Office will interact with you. So, Mr. Ragu, you're very strong and able. Make sure all them fellas and them go and plant the land. And it is well cultivated. In 5 years, it must be 100% cultivated.
Meanwhile, the minister met with residents in Sangre Grande to offer them certificates of comfort. This comes even as the ministry has embarked on using global link positioning systems, GPS, on tracking land use on state-owned property. The minister told those gathered that it is envisioned that in the coming months his ministry will be visiting the constituency to take care of those in need of receiving regulation for their squatting lands.
In the month of November, we will come and spend 1 month in your constituency, and every single other persons who are in need of a certificate of comfort or regularization under the State Land Act, and those who are squatting, we will spend that month in your Member of Parliament office, because you have over 10,000. Now anybody who don't come will have to come down to the Land Settlement Agency, and that is in Orange Grove. But what we are doing, we are bringing this government service to you.
The minister also reminds the residents of the need to work with the relevant documents needed to acquire their certificates.
You need your printed birth certificate to prove that you are a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago. You need your ID card showing that you are residents where you are. So those of you who haven't changed your addresses yet, make every effort to change it, because we can only give these for residents where they are. So not that, because most squatters tend to come in and reside in an area, but they don't make any effort to change their status by way of their residency in that location.
Kimberam Calawan, News 4.
Well, that's how we wrap up this edition of our News 4 Report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited. Remember, you can view a repeat of our newscast weekdays at 6 a.m. and feel free to visit our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/RTV4. I'm Nicola Barreto. Thank you for joining us.